All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to pass on to Bill. He's going to talk and share a little bit about some of that data you saw and what CyberFox is as well. So thanks.
All right. So I have a question before we get started. How many people, be honest, have admin rights to their own computer? Show of hands. Yeah, that's most of the room. Okay. So let's go back in time a little bit, and we're gonna pull up the ancient stone tablets and the manuscripts. We're gonna go back to the 1990s a little bit, right? So way back when they basically said, hey, you should really be aware of this thing called privilege and administrator, otherwise known as, and that obviously if you have that, it's extremely easy for people to move the way around and basically compromise practically anything that they want. And how long ago have they been saying this? Yeah, way back when. So when Microsoft finally introduced this operating system for everybody to use, one of the very first things they said was, please don't log in with your administrator account, because they knew just how bad that was. And it is exceedingly bad. And by the show of hands in this room, we're still not abiding by, that sort of sage advice from, because like it's Bill Gates, like who cares? He wrote it. What does he know? But we should be following the idea of least privilege. And it is one of the things that we really need to focus on that we don't. And we're going to reveal some deep, dark, dirty secrets today. It is something that a lot of us don't do as well as we could or should when it comes to managing privilege for both ourselves internally, but also for our clients as well. So this was one of the things that you saw in the Kahoot, right? And here's the scary part about this. So I did this presentation last year, and last year that number was 66%. So it's up 13% this year, which is a staggeringly a lot. That's a huge jump year over year. It's like they're just getting really, really good because they're getting more and more complex in how they do things. Like a lot of stuff today, because EDRs and AVs are getting so good at file detection, that they're doing a lot more fileless attacks. Stuff you load up in memory, and they start to use basic Windows utilities. And what we're starting to see is like 73% of the breaches and attacks that occur are fileless, malware-free, or what's called living off the land style attacks. Because again, EDRs and AVs at file detection are getting pretty good. And so there's like, all right, well, we just won't use files, and we'll just go do it another way. Most of those end up with some sort of a ransomware. It's all about the money, right? For them, it's a numbers game. So I actually ran through a bunch of numbers with somebody about the potential that is out there and just how many times somebody needs to be successful to make a few bucks, right? And so a lot of them even use the same methods and the same items. So some smart guy wrote something really cool somewhere, some piece of malware, and then a bunch of people go out there and they're like, oh, I'll buy that from him. It's already written. And then I'll just repackage it, and I'll go buy this other guy's list of people and email addresses that he got, and then I'll just target all those people. You figure there's what, 2 billion desktops in the world, something like that? So if you think about, if my audience of 2 billion people and potential targets are out there, how many times do I have to be successful to make a lot of money? And it's like 0.0001%. If I can just breach 0.0001%, it's almost $1 million a year at like $500 a person that I can zap. So it doesn't take a lot of successes. So they just spray it out everywhere. It's all opportunity. The reason I say that is because it can be a challenge for you guys to try to explain why Bob's Fish Mart in Alabama is going, I'm not a target. Like, yeah, actually you all are. You're just an address, you're an IP address, an email address on a list. And they don't care where you are or where you're from, but every single system has something valuable that they can sell. Your login credentials, your business information, your finance, like anything they can get their hands on, it sells anywhere from $300 to $3,000 depending the size of the company on the dark web. So everything is valuable to somebody. That's the thing that's important to get them to remember. that everything you have, doesn't matter, every single system has something valuable to somebody else that they are willing to sell. And that's usually what they're after. There's your email security. Obviously, that's not going to work. Most people, actually, a third of the people paid the ransom, and only 18% of those people got their stuff back. So now you're just having a doubly bad week because I'm down. Where business is impacted. We got to get everything restored. But you got to remember, it's a crime scene now. So if you just go and restore backups the next day, you've just covered up the crime. And so now there's investigations that have to happen. There's attorneys that have to get involved. There is police potentially have to do some stuff. Then there's insurance, cyber insurance got to get involved. And then you can start to do the restoration process, right? And that's where, we get the average of like 16 days. Pretty brutal. A lot of small businesses can't sweat this out. So I'll tell you a quick story. I was at a Connect show in Miami a few months back, and MSP we were chatting with. So one of their customers, CIO, got breached. Of course, he had, as CIOs do, they're like, no, you're going to give me admin to my stuff. You're not going to restrict my movements. And he got breached. They did some credential dumping. They logged into Azure, and they spun up $500,000 worth of Azure servers to run a Bitcoin mining operation for the month. And here's the real kicker. Nobody even noticed it until the bill came in. No alerts went off, no alarms. Microsoft didn't say, hey, this looks weird. They were just like, sweet. And they're like, well, what do you want us to do with this? And Microsoft said, well, we want you to pay it. And they're like, okay. So that's what ends up happening. A lot of people can't weather that storm, right? And so we want to try to avoid as much as possible. This is from the DBIR report. This kind of shows some of the key passive methods that people are using. This is actually really, really small. It's these two right here that you have to worry about. That's what everybody uses. That's what most breaches come from. So there's a secret wolf hiding out there in sheep's clothing, and it's called privilege. This is how most people get in, by the way. This was in your Kahoot. So usually there's misconfigurations. Too many people have admin. So most of the people in this room have admin to their own machine, assuming that probably a lot of people in your MSP probably have admin to their machine. What's our logical reasoning for that? We know what we're doing. It's like we're the professionals, right? I did something like 700 trial setups last year, and every single person I talked to, save for maybe 3 of those, had full admin access to their machine. And when the little UAC dialog popped up, you know what they did? Yes, immediately. Didn't read it, didn't see what it said, didn't wonder what that was, didn't even ask me, hey, is this your installer? They were just like, yeah, go ahead. It could say, I'm going to ruin you.exe, and they'd be like, absolutely. Change me, dog. Do it. Let's go. So that's how people get in, right? Bugs, not so big. Weak passwords, really, really big. Other system vulnerabilities. Here's a unique stat you're not going to like. Over 90% of Microsoft's current known vulnerabilities are actually not vulnerabilities if you're just not an administrator. So those things just go away if you're not an admin. Most attacks that are successful are usually some sort of, we call it privilege abuse, but it doesn't mean that somebody actually abused their privilege. It just means we have given way too many people way too much access, and that's what they're counting on. They're counting on us to be complacent, right? And to sort of, to a little bit, to bow down to the client when they go, I got to have it, blah, 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 this and that and the other, and every other reason under the sun, why they have to do it and why you have to give it to them, honestly. The answer is no, because that's how they're getting in. And unfortunately, 80% of those are compromised passwords, which is exactly how, in that order, that's exactly how that customer got breached, and they did $500,000 worth of servers up in Azure. So running a Bitcoin mining operation just for the month. I mean, who knows how many coins they probably made? What's Bitcoin up to, like 60 some grand a coin now or something like that? Like, imagine how many coins they made off your $500,000, right? And you know what you made? 0. So your largest threat surface area. So when we look at the overall potential for people to get in, there's a few sort of layers to security, right? So we look at protecting the precious endpoint down here, right? As we look at the overall picture, firewalls, great. But guess what? Most of our folks now, since the pandemic, they're not working in the office, which means I have no control over what network they're on, or what access they have, or what security is on that firewall, because they're probably sitting at Starbucks on public Wi-Fi, right? And so I can't rely on that as an effective measure of proactive level security. So sort of what's the next thing I can be doing? And even based on the hands that went up in this room, one of the largest threat surface areas and one of the most successful, all the successful breaches are in this area right here. That's the one we got to protect the most. And then it starts to move down from there. If you think about it, we all have some level of this stuff in place right now, but it is all reactive security, right? The way the analogy I like that kind of makes sense to most people is you have a home security system, right? What is that home security system protecting? Everything on the inside of the house, right? So the problem with the home security system is like antivirus, like EDRs, like SOCs. These are all, majority are going to be reactive security tools. Something needs to trip the motion detector in order to call the authorities to tell you that something's going on. And at that point, in a lot of scenarios, it's too late. Hopefully they do a good job. They catch a lot of stuff. But there's just a lot of stuff that they're not going to get. People are getting more and more crafty. And so what we've done in that is we're relying on highly complex, mostly very expensive, things that we have deployed across all of our customers that sit there doing a reactionary job waiting for the bad guys to come in the front door. And what we have forgotten to do in many cases, and even by a show of hands in the room to some degree, is we forgot to lock the effing door. If we're ignoring this huge area of security, basically what you've done is you've got the most expensive security system money can buy, and you left the front door open, your windows are open, you didn't close the garage when you left, and so any opportunist can walk right in and start to take what they want. And there is some things that they can grab before those tools are going to be effective. And so that is the most proactive thing that you can do, is just most of your headaches go away if people just don't have admin. And it doesn't matter what security method or model that you look at, they're all going to tell you the same thing. CIS control number 4, CIS control number 5, control of administrator accounts, disabling default accounts to make them unusable, like all of this other fun stuff. Restrict admin privileges. It doesn't matter. Pick any compliance, PCI, HIPAA, FFIEC, CMMC, any acronym you want. ISO, BSO, NIST, every single one of them says the same thing. But yet most of us aren't fully following, at least when it comes to privilege, because that is the most dangerous. We're not following the basic framework. Cyber insurance. Somebody told me the other day that they got a cyber insurance form. It was 106 pages long, questionnaire. And most of them, like a few years ago, they were like 5 pages. And now they're getting to be like 30 pages, and then it's just getting ridiculous, right? It's like a project just to fill one of these things out. So what should we be doing? Well, what we should be doing is taking all of that random administrator access out of the picture, and 100%, which includes you guys in the room too, 100% need to be dropped down to standard privilege, right? And it's such a huge threat surface area, and so many people have local admin, and that's all I need as a bad guy. I just need one person with privilege, and it's game over, right? Because then I can start installing tools and utilities, start doing some nasty stuff. And a lot of times you may not even know I'm there, because sometimes my goal isn't to ransomware your computers. It's just to steal all your data and then resell it. And I want to sit there as long as I can to get as much as I can. So I'm going to do it in the best way possible where it's undetectable. And then here's the problem. You drop everybody down to standard privilege, what happens? You need permission to do like everything in Windows. And so, we end up with the emperor mode, right? Where everybody's like, you have to come to me to get access. I'm the one you have to go through. And then your customers start looking at you like the evil empire because they get really pissed off every time they have to call you. And let's be fair, these are high touch, low value tickets. Like what the last thing that I want to spend time doing is putting my freaking username and password in, and somebody's sitting around waiting for 4 hours until I get to that ticket just so I could put my password in. And then they see that's all you do, and now they're really pissed. Like, really? Really? I waited 4 hours for you to do that? Like, can I just do that on my own? Give me back my rights. And of course, we have this problem. How many people have the admin account that they put across all of their customers that all of your techs know the password to? Show of hands. Be honest. You all should put your hands up because everybody does it. Like, it's the only way you can do it. You only have 2 options, by the way. So I could have put the other one up, which is you create an admin account for every technician, or you use a shared admin account. It could be different at each client, to be fair, but you, at that customer, you have a shared admin account and a password, and everybody knows where it's at, and they know how to get to it, and that's how you admin all of your stuff, right? Because there is basically no other way to do it. You either do that, or you give an administrator account to every person who can have it, and neither one of those is a good scenario. So you need a way to fix that. And of course, our customers complain, so what happens, right? We just start giving admin back out. I have talked to so many people where they go, yeah, we took local admin away from everybody. They install Auto Elevate, and all of a sudden they get a report back, and like 60% of their people have admin rights back again. And they're like, when did that happen? Like, because here's what you do. Here's what I do. I call them up. I'm like, Brian, bro, it's me, man. Come on. Like, you know me for years, man. Like, you know I know what I'm doing. Like, can you just give me back my stuff, bro? I won't call you anymore. I swear to God. And you're like, shh, just don't tell anybody. All right? Boom. That's how it happens. I've done that for 25 years. Never been turned down. So this is what happens. That stupid little box. This is what we're solving for. That stupid little box right there. UAC, user account control. So this is what happens. I've seen it. Like I could literally, like they could say, I'm going to destroy your network.exe, and people will be like, yes, let's load that. Let's do it. Right? So what do we got to do, man? Like ideally, there's a few things we need to do. We do need to centralize access to privilege. I don't actually want to give you, so if I was hiring anybody in this room to be my technician, I don't want to give any of you an administrator account. Everybody is a standard user. But I do need to give you a way to do privilege when you need to in the safest and securest way possible. And here's the other problem with shared admin accounts. I don't have any idea what you guys are doing. I don't know. And you know what you can't do? Can't tell your customer either when they ask you. You're like, well, what'd you do with, like, did you guys do that? I'm like, I don't know. I have to go some log files maybe? I don't know. Windows event logs suck, by the way. Does anybody like Windows event logs? No, nobody does. So, and you do have to build a defensible strategy. So you do have to be able to stand up there and go, I did the best that I could do, and I was able to balance productivity and security. So that's what we do with Auto Elevate. So it's about being able to manage requests when they come in. There are things you're not going to foresee, and be able to quickly and easily answer those. Be able to admin any machine in your network. And I can do that, I don't have my phone on me, with my phone. I scan the code. I can do whatever elevations that I need to do. 99% of what you do, local admin can do it. But a lot of times we just give domain admin out because we don't want to figure out which permissions to give people because like Windows permissions is very confusing. And so we're just like, here's a domain admin, do what you want. Be able to audit what people are doing, be able to track what they're doing, be able to track what technicians are doing, be able to give that data back to our customers, and have the forensic data available for us if and when something bad does really happen. Nothing is 100%. That's why I have those concentric circles up there. It's defense in layers. But your biggest layer and your biggest threat surface area is privilege. If you get rid of that, 9 out of 10 of your problems literally go away, including most of Windows vulnerabilities. All right, so I'm going to open this up. There's a lot to get through. We have 4 minutes left. For any questions on anything that we talked about today. We have a microphone. The nice lady in the room is going to visit you with the microphone. This gentleman right here.
So you mentioned in one of your slides about like privilege access and like Align and password managers.
Right? We'll go back to that really quick. It's right there.
So those are two, you would consider those two different things.
They fall into the same layer of proactive security solutions. Would be doing some basic blocking and tackling. So that's where block listing would come in. So kind of the new shirt that we've been wearing at this show here. So part of doing our privileged access management, we've incorporated some access management to do some basic blocking and tackling preemptively and proactively. So I'm not waiting for something bad to happen. I'm just telling you no. And there's no exception to that. And password management, if we don't have good password hygiene, if we don't have a good way to share passwords, because what a lot of people do, I'll text it to you, that's safe, right? Or I'll put it in Teams or Slack or email, you know what I mean? Or call me, I'll tell it to you over the phone. So yeah, it's a huge part of both of this and what people are looking for. So from a privilege standpoint, what I'm gonna try to do, I'm gonna try to get a tool like Mimikatz installed, right? And then I'm going to play, the golden ticket attacks, pass the hashes, or I'm going to do credential dumping. That's what happened to the Azure guy. The credential dump got into Azure, spun it all up. Nobody even knew. Yeah, so I asked him, to be fair, and I was like, hey, what ended up happening with that? And I think it was still about 400 grand in the end. The distributor helped to pay a little bit. They paid like 100 grand. The MSP ponied up a little bit. The end user ponied up a little bit, and cyber insurance paid a little bit. And then Microsoft, they gave a little discount on the bill, but it wasn't a lot. And I think in the end, the total cost of that breach was still about $400,000. Microsoft eating about 100 grand of it. It was a lot. So the product that we have is Auto Elevate and Password Boss. So if you haven't heard of either one of those, they're under the CyberFront umbrella, and you can find us in the first row right there on the left-hand side, right past the IT Complete booth. So we're right there on the left-hand side. So come by and see us. We can chat more about it. We got some foxes in the back for everybody. So when you guys leave, make sure you collect your fox. And if you want to win $500 in some cold hard, I don't even know where the cold hard cash. It's neither cold nor hard. I don't get it. But anyway, if you want to win 500 bones, come by, get a t-shirt, and fill out our little form there. And then we're doing a drawing Thursday at 6:30. If you come by wearing your blocker t-shirt, which by the way, no fox given. All right, you come by wearing your shirt, you got a chance for a drawing at $500 cash.
Yeah.
So that's my time.
Cool.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, guys.